This is not a tribute band. This is Children of Bodom playing live in Helsinki in 2026, celebrating the life of its late frontman Alexi Laiho, who tragically passed away just 5 years prior. How did this show come about? Is the band officially back? Why did they break up in the first place? And who the hell is this guy? To answer these questions, we have to go back to 2019. Hexed is the 10th studio album by Finnish melodic death metal band Children of Bodom, who at that point had been playing together for some 26 years, enjoying worldwide acclaim. The album's title song, which was made into an animated music video, showed the band still had a few tricks up their sleeve. But only a few months after the release, the band came forward with a disappointing announcement. After almost 25 years with Bodom, thousands of shows and 10 albums, Henka, Jana and Jaska have decided to step back and change direction within their lives. Alexi and Daniel will have further announcements about their plans to keep creating new music in the future. The retiring members, who retained the right to the name Children of Bodom, were essentially shutting down the band, leaving the two guitarists outside of their musical home. With rumors running rampant, the band released a follow-up statement to clear things up. There is no argument behind the band's name trademark or its use. Alexi Laiho sold his share of the company, and this meant that the three of us became owners of the COB brand. Also, we definitely want to set the record straight with the misconception that we quit because we have families or wanted to retire. Success brings with it the responsibility to take a stand on decisions unrelated to music as well. With no future in sight for the band, Laiho, along with Freyberg, decided to start a new band, naming it after one of Bodom's classic songs. Through 2020, the new spin-off band wrote several new songs, shot a new music video, and even played a few live shows. But come January 2021, the worst of all happened.
Suru-uutinen musiikista. Metalliyhtye Children of Bodomin perustaja, kitaristi Alexi Laiho on kuollut. Hän oli 41-vuotias. Laiho kärsi pitkään terveysongelmista ja hän kuoli kotonaan Helsingissä ennen vuodenvaihdetta.
Alexi's sudden passing sent shockwaves throughout the metal world. Fans everywhere were flabbergasted, scrambling to find answers as to how this happened or why. Before long, the answers came from Kimberly Goss, who had written several of Bodom's songs and was once Alexi's bandmate in Synergy. At the time of his passing, the two were still legally married despite being long separated. Goss's statement revealed that Laiho had suffered from a degenerated liver due to his drinking problem, and mentioned that he had a cocktail of painkillers, opioids, and insomnia medication in his system. Laiho's self-destructive behavior was, as it turned out, exactly what had led the original lineup to unravel.
In 2016, everything just went to hell with Alexi, and then, the remaining time in the band is like, that you're watching your friend commit a slow suicide. Mm-hmm. With his addictions that he, shouldn't drink, he shouldn't do this and this, and he keeps doing it daily, and you're like, fuck, this is not gonna end well.
Despite the original members threatening to leave, Laiho continued to refuse all help.
He said it to me, and he made it perfectly clear that, he's not gonna get sober ever again. In the end, if a grown man decides to die by their addictions, that's what they're gonna do.
Months after the tragedy, Bodom After Midnight announced that the last few songs written by Laiho would be released in April of 2021 as a 3-track EP, titled Paint the Sky with Blood. But as for the future of the band, Freyberg was unambiguous.
Well, unfortunately, the Bodom After Midnight as a band, as an active band, is pretty much gonna be buried with Alexi.
During his life, Alexi's music touched millions of fans and inspired countless other artists around the world. But it seemed like some of the biggest impact, and some of the deepest bonds, were made right there in Finland. It is the local scene especially that had to carry the weight of his loss. One of the young Finnish bands lucky enough to enter Bodom's orbit was Lost Society, led by guitarist and vocalist Samy Elbanna. By the time they released their 2013 debut, they were already out on tour with Bodom. The first show we were shaking because we were so nervous. I think it was Janne who walked into our dressing room on the first day and was like, "Great to have you guys on board." He broke the proverbial ice. After the show, because we were teenagers who didn't know any better, we were like, "Let's go drinking together." We were all extremely hungover the next day, but we broed out immediately. For Samy, this was an opportunity to find a mentor.
Why does he call you dad?
Because I'm his dad. That's a long story. When Lost Society was first touring with Bodom, me and my wife adopted him because we didn't have kids at the time.
And their interaction didn't end there. In 2014, we did another tour together in Finland. I asked to be initiated into the band's inner circle, the Hate Crew. It involved being naked in a shower. You're held upside down by your legs and bourbon's poured into your mouth. And I will remember that for the rest of my life. Being a fan of Bodom since childhood, Samy's own playing was heavily inspired by Laiho. And when Laiho passed away, the young protege was devastated. I had never experienced loss of that magnitude at that point, because he wasn't only a friend, wasn't only a brother, but he was obviously someone who'd influenced my musical journey. But as the years passed, fans continued to follow the Bodom camp, and it became an unspoken expectation that sooner or later, some kind of reunion has to happen. I remember talking to my manager and he asked me, should I contact the guys and see if they're planning on doing anything? Could I tell them that you'd be interested in doing something? I said, let them take as long as they need, but if they ever do anything and would even consider needing me to help, I'd be honored. The original members, however, were mostly reluctant.
We've gotten some requests and we've said no to everything, but then there's one guy who is now our booking agent from Austria, Dominic. He contacted us and he was convincing enough, like, guys, I have so many requests for Bodom shows, and we replied to him politely that we don't have a band, we just have 3 guys and a legacy, you know. And he goes like, can I come to Helsinki and meet you? We're like, okay, fine. Turns out to be a super nice guy, like someone we could work with. And then we started thinking like, okay, well, if we ever gonna play any shows, how are we gonna approach it?
This video was made by humans. If you prefer that over AI-generated content and don't mind the funny accent, then you're at the right place. As you might expect though, making these videos takes a lot of time and effort. But with your help, we'll be able to hire more writers, editors and other staff, which will help us produce more videos on the greatest bands out there. If you'd like, you can chip in via Patreon or by becoming a member right here on YouTube. Just follow the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. I appreciate your support, and now back to the video.
How we're gonna do this is that we're gonna celebrate the music, you know, because that's what we have.
In late 2025, the band announced a one-off tribute show dedicated to Laiho, titled A Celebration of Music, to be played on the 26th of February 2026 at the Tavastia Club in Helsinki. A day after the announcement, the show was completely sold out, leading the band to book a second show at the same venue the very next day. With all the excitement surrounding the event, the band, now joined by Samy, was treading carefully.
The idea isn't to replace anyone, it's just someone has to do it.
He was so well practiced already when we had our first band practice. He already knew everything, and I was just starting to remember how the f was this again?
I'm lucky in the sense that those songs have been in me for so long, you know, they're in my DNA. I've listened to these songs since I was a kid, but you know, really diving into the dynamics and all of the things, you know, I was like, there wasn't a song there wasn't a single song that I learned where I wasn't like, God damn, that's good.
And I know there was some parts that were really difficult for Samy, but he pulled it off.
Obviously, there are some things that he definitely did also that are fucking hard to sing and play at the same time. I remember always there's the part in Living Deadbeat, the pre-chorus, just before it goes to the chorus, where you are essentially growling and playing this at the same time. And you're like, he was a fucking genius.
Of course, a reunion would not be complete without a second guitarist, and so the band saw it appropriate to reach deep into their past.
The last show with Children of Bodom before this was in 2003, Tuska Festival, Helsinki. And it's been 23 years. That's a lot of time.
Now, with original member Alexander Kuopala to round off the lineup, and after 6 months of intense preparation, it was time.
Going on stage the first night, I really had no idea if, I'm gonna start crying. Is the whole audience gonna be crying when we go out? I mean, like, literally, from the moment we went on stage, we were all panicking back there, like, what the fuck is gonna happen?
The band played a 20-song set ranging from the first album and up to 2008's Blood Drunk, with many fan favorites scattered throughout. As evident by the crowd's reaction, as well as the many comments online, Samy's performance was pristine, from start to finish.
Is there a possibility that we haven't seen, like, the last of Children of Bodom?
Yes, there is.
I mean, just as when I was hoping to exit the music business soon or retire, it's not gonna... If this is gonna keep happening? No.
So, is this the beginning of a comeback? It's clear at this point that the band has earned a lot of goodwill from fans, despite the risky move of having Samy stand in a spotlight right where their beloved frontman and main songwriter once stood. And while the risk paid off, it is not clear how fans would react to anything new coming out of this lineup, aside from tribute shows. But judging by the amount of respect they've shown their own legacy, I have a feeling the band will know just how to maneuver through this new stage of their career. And whatever ends up happening, at least for a moment in time, we get to witness some of our favorite songs come to life once again. Apart from Bodom, 2026 has brought about multiple comebacks. If you'd like to catch our next video on the topic, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications. Also, check out our previous video on what we think is this year's biggest comeback album. My name is Raz, and from myself and the team, thank you for watching. Until next time.
Samy, are you with me on that one? Some New Year's...
Excuse me, father?
Yes, my son?